Today we're going to talk about how to create some histograms from some data. And we need to know a little bit of background that every histogram has two axes on it. On the bottom axis is the label of the units that we're counting up. So we have, in this case, metals. As we can see from the data right here, the number of metals 1. And then the y-axis is the same for every single histogram. It is labeled frequency. Frequency, which I'm just going to abbreviate here for space. All right, the toughest part, in my opinion, of doing histograms is to decide what the size of your intervals are. And in this case, we're assigned to give it a width of 10 units, but when we're doing histograms on our own, and we'll see this on the back side of this paper, that we'll have to decide on our own what those intervals will be. You might also hear them called bins, and in that case we would call it the bin size. So my general rule of thumb, I try to get about 5 to 10 bins, but that is a very flexible rule. We can see in the data over here that our minimum is 3 and our maximum goes up to 88. So if I take those and break it up into bins of 10 units or intervals of 10 units, then that will give me, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and we see we have, we need to go up to 90. We have 9 different bins, so that fits approximately in my rule. So I'm going to label these as 10 and 90. I have to squish that in there. Once those bins are labeled, all we have to do is count how many of our data, how many data points fit in each bin. So this first bin goes from 0 to 10, and so we're going to count anything that goes from 0 to 10. So here we have 8, 5, 6, those all belong. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things that belong in that bin. We have to decide on this 10 because it's right on the border of 2 bins. We can put it in the lower bin or we can put it in the upper bin, but we do not put it in both. It doesn't particularly matter which one you put it in. So I'm going to put it in the lower bin, the 0 to 10 bin, and that would give me 7 different items in that bin. So on the frequency, the y-axis, we're going to go up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and the bar at a height of 7 shows us that we have 7 things in that bin. We continue to do that all the way through each of the bins. So we get 10 to 20 would have 1, 2, 3 in it. So we're going to go up to 3 in height on our bar. 20 to 30 would have 1, so we'll go up to 1. 30 to 40 has 1, 2 that I see, so we're going to go up to a height of 2 on this one. 40 to 50 is 1. 50 to 60 doesn't have any in it. 60 to 70 has 1. 70 to 80 has none, and 80 to 90 has 1. So we just go and look at our data over here and count up each one as it belongs in its categories. Let's go to our next one. You'll see that the interval width on this one is smaller. It's an interval of 1 instead of 10. The reason for that is because this data over here is much closer together than the data that we had in the last one. So we find our minimum and maximum again. Our minimum is 0. We see that several times, and our maximum is 7, it looks like. So we've got to go by ones from 0 to 7. So we're going to make our x and our y axis here. The label is percent, and we're going by ones starting at 0. So we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to have to go up to 8. I'll explain why in just a minute. 1. All right, so in the 0 to 1 bin here, we have the 0. And that's in the 0 to 1 bin, so since it's on a borderline and we're putting it in the bin above to the right of the 0, then every time we see one on a borderline, we're going to have to put that to the right, to the right, to the right. So we'll see this a few different times on this particular one because we have a lot of points right on those borders. All right, from 0 to 1 we have 1, 2, so we're going to go up 1, 2 on our frequency axis. I should label that. From 1 to 2, we have none. 2 to 3, I see 1 right there. 3 to 4. All right, we don't have any in 3 to 4. This 4, remember, we're going to have to put it in the right bin, so that actually belongs in the 4 to 5 bin. In the 4 to 5 bin, we have 1, 2. I see 2 of them, so we're going to go up to 2 on our height here. The 5 to 6 bin, we have 1, and the 6's do not belong in there, so I just see the 1. In the 6 to 7 bin, that's where the 6's will go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right there. So I got to get my y-axis to go up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to draw this one all the way up to a height of 7. Remember, the 7's belong in the 7 to 8 bin because we're putting those border ones on the bin to the right. So we have 1, 2 in that bin right there. So that finishes that up. We've got all of our data counted up and in our histograms. On this third one right here, we're making the width of our intervals 5,000. And that one is much larger than either of the previous two. And again, that's because of the data over here. It is much more spread out than either of the two previous examples. So our intervals are going to be much wider. All right, the label on this one is going to be income. And we've got to find our minimum and maximum. So it looks like our minimum on this one is 9,250. Our maximum is 45,550 there. So I'm going to use nice numbers that are close to that. I think I'm going to start at 9,000. So I'll put 9 for 9,000. And if we're going by intervals of 5,000, that would put me at 14. We have to go up to 49 in order to capture all of the data here. All right, you could have started at something other than 9,000. We have to just start low enough that we capture all the lowest part of this data. Between 9 and 14,000, we have 1, 2, 3 data points right there. So we're going to go up to 1, 2, 3 on our frequency axis. From 14 to 19,000, oh, I missed one. I see right there we have 11,000, so I need to adjust this up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, from 14 to 19,000, I see 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go up to 3 right there. From 19 to 24,000, oh, I missed one again on that one, so we're going to have to bring that one up to a height of 4. This is why I cross them off. Sometimes I do not see them as we're going along, but I'll catch them as I start to cross off. I'll notice that they're not there. So 19 to 24, we get 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go up to 3 on that one. 24 to 29,000. I don't see any in that interval. So 29 to 34,000, we have 1, 2. There's 2 right there. 34 to 39, none. 39 to 44, none. But 44 to 49, we have 1, 2. And I just noticed that my max goes a little bit higher, but fortunately we capture that anyway. So we're going to go up to 1, 2 on that one. That finishes up that histogram. On the back side of this paper, we have hours slept, and we are in charge of choosing the width of our intervals. So I'm going to go X and Y axis there, and I'm going to find my minimum and maximum. My minimum here is 5.75, and our maximum looks like it is 8.5 right next to it. So I've got to go from 5.75 to 8.5. That's not a long way to go, so I think I'm going to make my intervals 0.5. I'm going to go by 0.5s. So I'm going to start at 5.5. Okay, let's count them up. From 5.5 to 6, we have 1. All right, and we have a bunch of 6's here, so we have to decide what to do with all these 6's. I think I'm going to put them in the bin to the right on this one, like we did last time. So they will go in the 6 to 6.5 bin. So 5.5 to 6 just has 1 in it. And we do need to go up to 9 since we decided to put the 8.5s in the bin to the right, so that gives us 1, 2 in the 8.5 to 9 bin. Melting point, we are going to find our minimum and maximum here. Looks like our minimum is 44.2 and our maximum is over here at 1700, so much more spread out than the last example. So we're going to have to go by much wider intervals as a result. Since 44.2 is reasonably close to 0, I think I'm just going to start this one on 0. And since I have to go all the way up to 17 or 1800, depending on what my intervals are, somewhere around there, I think I'm going to go by intervals of about 300. That would give me 6 different intervals. So I'm going to go 300, 600, 900, 1200, 1500, and 1800. All right, our label is degrees Celsius on the x-axis and frequency again on the y-axis. All right, from 0 to 300, we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, I just found a new minimum right there. It's a good thing we went down to 0 to capture that. So I see 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to go up to a height of 3 on this one. On this last one, we have shoe size. Our minimum on the shoe size is, looks like 6, and our maximum goes up to 11. So we've got to go from 6 to 11. I think if I go by ones, let's see what that looks like. So we're going to go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I'm going to put the sizes in the bin to the right, so that's going to make me have to have a bin of 12 for that 11 to go into, from 11 to 12. Oh, I just saw a lower minimum, 5.5, so let's scooch our graph over a little bit here. We'll go from 5 to 6. Now I wanted you to see what difference changing the intervals makes, and so we're going to do a second version of this with a different interval. It doesn't really matter what the other interval is that you picked, I just wanted you to see the difference when we have a different interval. Let's go by 0.5s this time. I'm going to stretch my graph out a little bit so we can see if we can fit those in there. All right, let's start counting. So you can see that in this histogram on the bottom, things are a lot more spread out. The bars are lower overall, so it changes the shape a little bit depending on our decision. The histograms, the bin size is your decision. It's a personal opinion question of which one you think is better. So take a look if you need at multiple ones, and that is just your choice. Thanks and good luck.